Hey guys, Matt here. This is my review of Oz the Great and Powerful. This movie is directed by Sam Raimi, who previously directed the original Spider-Man trilogy. This movie stars James Franco, Michelle Williams, and Rachel Weisz, with Mila Kunis and Zach Braff. Now, when I first heard they were doing a prequel to The Wizard of Oz, I was like, alright, that's cool. I like prequels. I like to see how certain characters and events unfold to bring us the movie that comes after it. And then I saw the trailer to the movie, and I was like, well, looks a little too adventure-y and kid-friendly, but then again, from a Disney movie, what else do you expect? So I saw the movie, and though it could have been really good, and it could have really stood up to the classic from 1939, Oz the Great and Powerful was disappointing overall. Even though this movie is the prequel to the classic Wizard of Oz, I tried to go into this movie looking at it by itself, standalone, just its movie as a whole. And though I could compare it to the original, and I could, totally tear it down and bash it left and right, this movie by itself, to me, still has its problems. One, James Franco as the main character, Oscar Diggs, or Oz. His character starts out as this selfish con artist, even womanizer. And to me, when he goes to Oz, he's supposed to start changing his ways and become a different person and everything, but there's no character development with his character until the end of the movie, and for me, that's too long. I mean, he meets some characters, and he starts to feel sympathetic towards them and compassionate, but he really doesn't change until something that comes later in the movie, and he realizes, wow, I can't keep doing the things that I'm doing and treating people the way I treat them, because it's time to get serious and time to become the hero these people need. I saw this movie with a friend of mine, and my friend fell asleep 20 minutes into the movie, and he woke up about 25 minutes before it was over, which also should say something about its running time. This movie was quite long. So he wakes up, he looks at me and he goes, what did I miss? I go, oh, nothing really. And I go, don't worry, this is the best character development from James Franco's character throughout the entire movie. Because the whole movie, he's like a tourist in Oz where he doesn't know what's going on, and so he's acting silly, and just all of the events that happen to him are just too kid-friendly and just too silly and too cartoonish. Now the witches. Rachel Weisz and Michelle Williams, they did good jobs. Michelle Williams as Glinda the Good Witch, who was always, the hopeful one. Always thought things were going to work out. She did a good job. Rachel Weisz as one of the Wicked Witches. Good job on her part. I liked how this movie threw a curveball in at us because, if you looked at the posters and watch the trailers, you could probably think, oh, I know what's going to happen, but it's cool because they did throw a twist in. I didn't like how the twist occurred. I didn't like how... It's another problem I have with origin stories is this movie dealt with the origins of Oz, the Wizard. But I don't like origin stories like, for example, Star Wars, the prequels. Wizard of Oz, Oz the Great and Powerful could be looked at as episodes 1 and 3. 1 in the sense that it was too kid-friendly and silly and more cartoony than serious and realistic, but also like episode 3, where, here's how you could look at it. One of the witches was Obi-Wan. Another of the witches was the Emperor. The third witch would be Darth Vader. But the thing I don't like is about origin movies is sometimes they like to take the origin of a main character, but also in that same movie they like to take the origin of a bad guy or another important character in that universe, and they like to show their origins as well. And to me, that's just too much. Like, okay, I understand that they had to show us how the wizard became the wizard, but did you really have to show us how the Wicked Witch became the Wicked Witch? Couldn't she just have been some character that just came from some area off screen that just happened to be in the same world that, would have gave us some sort of mystery to that person? I didn't like how they showed us, okay, here's the wizard. Okay, we're also going to show you, oh, here's the Wicked Witch. Okay, here's something else that you're going to realize in The Wizard of Oz, but we're going to show you how they start in this movie, just because we can. Now, the three things that I actually did like in this movie, two of them were the two supporting characters of the monkey Finley, voiced by Zach Braff, and a little girl named China Doll, voiced by Joey King, who played young Talia al Ghul in Dark Knight Rises. I like those characters. I thought Zach Braff was the well-needed comic relief. You know, if you didn't have kids or they didn't laugh at, you know, the hijinks regarding James Franco and all the, you know, adventurous, you know, silly stuff in Oz, you'd laugh at the monkey. And then there were also really emotional parts given to us by China Doll. You know, there were parts that just made you go, oh my gosh, that's so sad. And unfortunately, those are also the bringer-abouts of one of James Franco's most, like, touching moments. You know, if there's something that happens at the beginning of the movie that you're like, oh man. And then they kind of go back to it in the Land of Oz, so you're like, oh, okay, it's reflective. I like how they're doing. So those characters were good. But other than that, the scene at the end where he finally builds his machine, he finally takes his place as the Wizard of Oz, I like that in the movie. But other than that, this movie was very colorful, I'll give it that. I didn't see the movie in 3D, but I'm sure some of the aspects of it would look pretty good. But to me, it just seemed like, well, it's Sam Raimi. To me, Sam Raimi is the poor man's Joss Whedon, where he can have serious moments, but he also does really silly stuff to appease the kids. Then again, it's a Disney movie, so what do you expect? Now, if I had my choice, I would have replaced James Franco with somebody older, because that's another thing that I couldn't really wrap my head around, was the whole time difference between this movie and the events in Wizard of Oz. I would have gone with somebody maybe like Jim Carrey or Bruce Campbell or even Robert Downey Jr. I think they would have brought the charisma and the essence of the Wizard better than James Franco. So because this movie was disappointing to me, just because I didn't like some of the routes they took, and it just was too silly, and there wasn't any music in it, and it just wasn't as good as The Wizard of Oz, which it should have been. A rating of 1 to a 5, I'm going to give Oz the Great and Powerful a 2.5. It was good, but only if you're under the age of 13. Till next time, guys, see ya.